So a little while ago, a colleague and I started on the Sontaran project, basically Styre, and um, this is the initial hand sculpt, which is way too big. So my colleague had a crack at doing another one, which is all right. Um, Still not quite what I was after. Um, the the general proportions is all right, but as you can see, there's not a much difference in the size, and I needed them to come down quite a bit in size. Um, so the thought was to create a new hand which was a little bit more authentic to the original Friendlander sculpt. So this is one which I created. It's very rough at this stage, just very basic block out on the forms and everything, and you can see the fingers are a bit different in shape, and the wrinkling and the folds are a little bit different as well. So the plan is now to transfer that onto the other hand. I'm scoring in a few of the wrinkles before adding some additional clay, just to bulk out the fleshiness of that area of the hand. It's, like I say, extremely rough at this stage, just trying to get an overall feel for the forms and everything. And using my favourite wooden tool there, which it's quite versatile. That's why I use it most of the time through the process. I'm changing the angles of the wrinkles as well, rather than just having them go straight across. And yeah, I'm basing it as closely as I can on the original Friedlander sculpt, but obviously it's just a pair of hands, so I'm not going to the effort as I did with the actual head. And it's pretty straightforward, quite a fast process actually. And so, as you can see here, it's literally transformed that area of the hand, and it's only taken me about 2 minutes. And this is basically the flow of my work. I just sculpt away, carve, remove, add bits, try and make the shape pretty interesting. So one of the things that I wasn't quite happy with the initial sculpt was I wanted the fingers to be a little bit more conical, a little bit more pointy at the tips, which is what I think this should be like for the Styre. Which incidentally is the only Sontaran which had 5 fingers, 5 digits. All the other Sontarans had 4 digits. So I thought that was a bit interesting, but I always loved the look of Styre. Just a fantastic sculpt by Friedlander, and just the angles and everything. And it just looks so inhuman, and freaked me out really when I first saw it. So yeah, I mean, I'm just working on the new nails, which are a little bit more oblong than the initial ones, a little bit more shape, more bulbous at the top of the nail. And yeah, it's starting to, that's the sort of the shape I'm after, really. That's not as sausage shaped, really. It's much more like a point. Right, so here we are with the two hands more or less fully blocked out, very rough, and I'm starting to do a little bit more refining on the wrinkles, make them a little bit more natural and realistic, I suppose. Which you know, the original didn't have this degree of work. Let's face it, it was very rough, rushed out really by Friendlander, just probably in a day or half a day. But you know, I just thought it's not something that's scrutinised a great deal, and as long as it has the character of the original Friendlander, you know, it might as well be done properly. So I'm now adding bits of clay, which raises levels, and the thing that makes fingers and the wrinkles on the fingers quite interesting is just the way the natural creases kind of overlap each other, and the weightiness of the flesh and everything, and yeah, that kind of it kind of gets me excited in a way, because that's really what sculpting's all about, just enjoyment and creating things to look cool. So I'm doing a little bit of detailing on the fingernails, and adding very subtle forms here and there, like a suggestion of a knuckle. I mean, Sontaran hands are quite strong, obviously, so they're not going to, I don't think they'll show many tendons or bone showing through the flesh, so it's got to look quite meaty, I think, just to look convincing as a strong, powerful Sontaran hand, really. So at this point I'm starting to use a different tool. It's one of my favourite ones. This is it's really nice for just creating little flat planes of and different levels, and making clean edges, really. And it's, as you can see, I'm working on the sharper edges of the fingernails, and all this is going to be smoothed out later on, but so I'm not really worried about how good it looks at this point. It's just getting those shapes down, really. At this stage, things start to get a little bit more interesting, and a little bit more hazardous, actually. I'm using this chemical called naphtha, which is basically lighter fluid, to basically break down the surface of the plastiline clay, and just to smooth it down, really, and just to amalgamate all those forms that I've created, soften them off nicely. But this is by no means going to be the final step of the surface detailing, but it's beginning. So the reason why I'm using naphtha is because it basically it evaporates really quickly, and the surface is more workable and touch dry quicker than if I was using, for instance, white spirit. Like I say, naphtha is not very nice stuff, and it smells. And I like to wear a face mask to protect my lungs from it when I'm working. Or certainly keep the room well ventilated. Yeah, it's at this stage you start seeing things that you need to refine, and it's the first step in doing the detailing and the skin textures. So at this point, I'm going back to the trusty wooden tool and adding little details. I'm just sharpening it up and refining it a bit more, and making the sculpt look a little bit more refined. So when you do creases, it's not a case of just doing a trench. I like to add levels, and you'll see as I work through this process that it will just make it look much more believable as a crease in the flesh. So I'm just sort of smoothing it off using the hatching crisscross method, and just adding a bit more clay and a little smoothing down a bit, and just it looks like basically two platelets coming together, like land platelets, where they just sort of collide and squish together in an unusual manner, really. And see, I'm going across, and it's just makes it look a little bit more believable, really, especially when it gets smoothed down. So the object of creating a sculpt like this is to make it look like it's organic, real, that it's not being basically just roughly made by a human hand. So this is what I'm doing at the moment. I'm trying to sort of make everything look more natural. I've done the basic blocking out earlier, but this is now the blocking out of the skin surface, really, before putting down the final pass on the texture. So there's plenty of stages with sculpting. The initial block out, then there's the first pass with the smoothing, and then the surface block out, which I call it, really. It's where you're trying to make everything look a little bit more refined, and it basically gives your work a much more professional feel. If you do it like this, just make it look a lot more thought out, really. So at this point, I'm sort of thinking, well, you could see the light is just making everything look a little bit flat, So I get a torch, and I point it from a side angle, so that helps you to see where you are on the surface at this stage, and it's looking good. I mean, the weightiness of the flesh is there and on the folds. So I'm now going to smooth it out with naphtha again, and just see where I am on the surface. You'll see things that you don't like, and you need to refine a little bit more. It takes a while. Just add lots of naphtha, constantly brushing it, break down that surface, and eventually you'll get a very good result. The naphtha, like I say, does dry out very quickly, and you can feel the resistance on the brush, and that it's almost like you're sanding the surface. Yeah, it's quite satisfying. It's like I say, it's a bit whiffy, this stuff, and you really need to ventilate your room and wear some respirator to protect those lungs. There's the torch gone off. So at this stage I'm thinking I need to take another step, and I've got a very coarse sponge which I use to really soften some of the areas that I need to make a little bit more realistic. So as you can see, I'm just rubbing over the surface and really softening off those folds, because when you start texturing the skin, it's gonna look so much better if you don't have little dinks that don't look realistic. So I've gone back again and I've added a few more little creases. I mean, like I say, it's a lot of sculpting is about changing things and adding things, and as you can see, it's looking a little bit better every time. Few more wrinkles, they'll get really softened off with the naphtha again, and the sponge, and you know, it's a very creative process. For me, this is the most fun part of sculpting. It's what it's all about for me. Just making things look convincing, that it's not something that's been made by human hand, really. And I just love to work backwards and forwards, smoothing things, refining things, adding things, until you reach a stage where you're happy, and you just want to sort of move on to the next step. But I take a lot of inspiration from real life. So I use reference pictures quite a bit, of like animals, for instance, apes. There's, gorillas. They've got humanish hands, but they're much stronger, and the fingers look more powerful. So a reference pictures like you can get off the internet are brilliant for this part of the process. Here's one which I looked at, and yeah, so getting more into the finer details, one of the more complicated areas of the hand, the fleshy bit that comes between the main finger and the thumb. There's some really interesting wrinkles there. Like I say, this is by no means how the original would have been sculpted, and the Friendlander wouldn't have done this level, but for the purposes of this video, it's a tutorial really on how to sculpt, but I will be doing more videos in the future, which will show show you how to sculpt other things to do with Doctor Who or Star Wars or whatever, replicate. So hopefully you'll be along for the journey. It should be fun. Now here's another hand. It shows basically the fingernails and everything are just different to humans. So at this point, if you're still tuned in and interested, then you definitely are inspired and keen to become a sculptor. I mean, if it starts getting tedious and you're not enjoying this sort of thing, then really sculpting probably isn't for you. But you know, I've been doing this for quite a number of years now, and I never get bored of doing this sort of level of detail, trying to replicate organic life. I mean, what other job can you do something like that? I mean, it's really inspiring for me. And yeah, it's great fun. If I could give a name to this part of the process, it would probably be the tweaking of the surface details. You know, I mean, could work for hours doing one section, and then I look at it later on and I go, oh, I don't like that, so I'll completely wipe it off, smooth it off, and then start again. But this sculpt's going quite well, and it's checking the lighting on it again, and I like all the different levels of the flash, the way the folds are all coming together. And as you can see, there's no straight, trenchy little scratchy lines, which I absolutely hate. I mean, when I see the sculpts, you know, I just want to sort of go over and help the person who's done that to improve. So hopefully, a video like this will get watched and people will learn a little bit. I'm going back to the nails again. I'm not trying to make them look too human. I'm just adding a little bits of flesh and here and there, just to make them look a little bit more like the nails sort of slightly sunken into the flesh in that area, which it can be on human fingers, of course, but I'm using my favourite metal tool again for those sharp edges. So yeah, we're getting near the end stage of the final surface block out, and I'm beginning to really dial in the edges here on the nails, and a little bit of sharpness here, a little bit of softness there, just makes it look a little bit more believable. Again, Friendlander would never have done this degree of detail. He was very time restricted, pretty much like modern day Doctor Who actually. There's situations where, you know, I might have been working on a prosthetic and I was asked by the supervisor, Rob, you need to get this finished this morning so we can get on to the next step, and the mold department need this finished by tomorrow. You know, it was pretty much the same in those days. Probably much smaller outfit. I think there was just Friendlander and maybe a couple of other techs that were working on the show with him in those days, but it's a little bit different these days. So just finishing off, polishing off the nails with a sponge, and this is the final step with the texturing. You apply talcum powder over the surface. I have to say again, I wear a respirator to protect my lungs, because talcum powder is not good stuff to get into your respiratory system. So you can actually see some of the dust flying around in the air there. So this is just purely to remove the tackiness of the surface, and then I get my next tool, which is a cat brush, which I just rub over the surface, and it basically scores in little tiny lines and micro wrinkles and makes little bobbles and everything on the surface. And if I hadn't put the talcum powder on the surface here, it wouldn't have worked at all. All the little lines would just clog up on the actual brush and make it impossible to work. But yeah, just using little squiggly motions, and you can see how it's affecting the surface. And you know, I'm not going too far with the finishing on this. It's not to look too dissimilar to what I've done with the actual mask, the Styre mask. So after I've done that, as you can see, now I'm using a cut off chip brush, and I'm just scoring it off and rubbing it down, and it brings up this kind of nice finish. So there you go. That's the little run through on the techniques I use for creating something like this. It's obviously reined in a little bit to try and stick as true as possible to Friendlander's techniques with a little bit more panache. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and probably do a few more videos in the not too distant future. Yeah, I'll just leave you with one or two more shots, and we'll see you in the future. Oh, and if you did enjoy this video, please feel free to like or subscribe to this for future content, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of great stuff I'll be working on.